crying a lot. Just get them off me, get them off me. If you're going to charge them out, you better be responsible for the things that happen out there and don't cry so much.
We thought Dahlbeck was throwing cheap shots in the pile. And, you're going to protect your players. You're not going to let that happen. And the only thing, the problem was that our pitchers kept missing a guy.
Now Rothschild yelling at Pedro Martinez. Fox 25 Sports presents Boston Red Sox baseball. Today from Fenway Park, the final game of this three-game series between the Red Sox and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Sean McDonough along with Jerry Remby. It's great to have you with us as the Red Sox go for a sweep of this three-game set with the Devil Rays, and it will be Pedro Martinez on the mound against Tampa Bay for the first time since that memorable night last August down at Tropicana Field. Gerald Williams is in the lineup today for Tampa Bay leading off, and you think we'll have any lingering after effects, or is it all a thing of the past?
Well, you would hope it's a thing of the past, but you never know with Major League players. They have very long memories, and of course, when Pedro went back to Tampa Bay for that last series of the year, he did not work in that series. He did pitch against his team in spring training, but that's a whole different animal. It's interesting, Williams is in the lineup today. He missed the first two games because of disciplinary action between him and his manager, Rothschild, and right now, he's back in today, and I think the reason for that is they want to show that he's not afraid to be in the lineup, so this could be very interesting today, but Pedro, his first focus is to win games, and his second focus is to protect his teammates. So we'll see how it goes today.
And it is the second start of the season for Pedro Martinez. The Red Sox now 3-2 through 5 games. Each of the 5 starters has made one start. And one of the big questions of this team, Jerry, was how would the starters perform after Pedro? Last year it was a big problem. So far, so good. The Red Sox starters' ERA after one turn through the rotation is 1.95. Best in the majors.
They have got excellent starts from every one of their starters the first time through. Pedro only gave up that one run. That was on a bloop base hit. Nomo, of course, the no-hitter. Castillo did a very good job. Oka, after the first inning, settled down. And Crawford was very good yesterday. He had a great fastball, slider, and changeup. So they had to be very pleased the first time through. We start over again today with Pedro.
And Pedro does have an interesting history with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. We mentioned the brawl last season when Pedro was more focused on winning the game and not retaliating by hitting Tampa Bay hitters. And we also remember the game here last May 6th when, for one of the few times in his career, Pedro was outpitched. He was a masterful pitcher that day, struck out 17 Tampa Devil Rays, but lost 1-0.
And that was kind of the story for Pedro last year. Every one of his losses, they just didn't score any runs for him, and it carried over to this year because in Game 1, the Red Sox offense quieted down for Pedro, even though he pitched an outstanding game. Pedro, when he goes out to the mound, I mean, the focus for everybody on that other team is we really want to beat this guy because they know they're facing the best pitcher in all of baseball. It doesn't bother Pedro. He takes every challenge as they come, and I'm sure he can't wait to get out there today against the Devil Rays.
Delayed start to today's game. It is kids' opening day here at Fenway Park, and because of the wet weather this morning, it took the ground crew a few extra minutes to get the field ready. They were anticipating a shower right around 1 o'clock. So the start of today's game now estimated for a first pitch at 1:15. It does give us a little more time to talk about the very interesting start to the season for the Red Sox. After opening day, it seemed like a lot of the fans were ready to abandon ship. Then came the no-hitter, another one-run loss in heartbreaking fashion in Baltimore to close that series. But lately, you get the sense that things are starting to come together. Manny Ramirez has really flourished and has been welcomed with open arms by the home fans, and the defense has been surprisingly good.
Well, first of all, I think what turned this offense around was Manny Ramirez. They fell behind 3-0 here on opening day. The crowd was very quiet. You could sense, even the players, what's going on? We're down by 3 already in the first inning. Ramirez comes to the plate, the 3-run home run, and that got everybody re-energized here at Fenway Park, including the Red Sox. Since that time, last night was a terrible conditions at Fenway Park. They were able to score a lot of runs, home runs. They're second in the league in home runs at this point. And then, Sean, you talk about the defense. We were all concerned about that. They've only made one error so far in their games, and that was by Shea Hildebrand. So it's been very solid. Whoever goes in at shortstop, whether it be Lansing or Graybeck, they've been able to get the job done.
They haven't been making the flashy plays, but they're really not being called upon to do that. They haven't had that many opportunities to make flashy plays. What they want to make sure, Jimmy Williams wants to make sure, is they make the routine play, and so far so good along those lines.
And last night, Sean, you could see they had Lansing in there for the better part of the game. When it was a close ball game at the end, they made the defensive change. They put Graybeck in the last 2 innings. They probably feel he's the strongest defensive shortstop they have right now. But you're exactly right. You don't worry about the spectacular plays. They're not going to make those. There's special shortstops that make those type of plays, but you got to handle the routine plays. If you do that, you'll save a lot of runs.
Pedro and Albie Lopez, the starters here on Kids Opening Day. We'll have the first pitch in just a few minutes from Fenway Park. Boston Red Sox baseball on Fox 25 is brought to you by your New England Ford dealers. Visit your New England Ford dealers for the best-selling trucks on the planet. By Bud Light, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light. By Dunkin' Donuts, when the action heats up this season, cool off at your neighborhood Dunkin' Donuts. Loosen up a little. By Dodge and the friendly New England Dodge dealers near you. In a perfect world, everything would be different. And by Southwest Airlines, celebrating 30 years of freedom. 30 years, one mission, low fares. Back at Fenway Park, Pedro Martinez has made his way into the dugout, and the Red Sox will be taking the field here in just a moment. Let's give you the Tampa Bay starting lineup, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. The Devil Rays are 1-4. They've lost 4 in a row. After winning their season opener, Gerald Williams will be in the lineup, leading off in center field. Steve Cox is the left fielder, one of the leading hitters in the league at the moment, batting second. Greg Vaughn is the DH, hitting third. The cleanup hitter, first baseman Fred McGriff. Ben Grieve, the right fielder, bats fifth, batting sixth and playing third base, Vinny Castilla. The number 7 hitter is the second baseman, Bobby Smith. Mike DeFelice, the catcher, batting eighth, and Felix Martinez, the shortstop, bats ninth against Pedro Martinez, who has held that Tampa Bay lineup, those 9 batters, to a collective 193 average during his career.
And the second start for Martinez this year at Baltimore. No decisions, 7 innings in that first game, 4 hits and the 1 run, and that run came on a bloop single that dropped between Steins and Trotton Nixon in right field. 6 strikeouts for Pedro. Of course, the Red Sox lost it 2-1. He had a no-hitter last August 29th, going into the 9th inning against the Devil Rays down in Tampa. John Flaherty broke up that no-hitter with a base hit to start off the 9th inning.
That was the night of all the fireworks. So as we mentioned, interesting history for Pedro against this team. The 17 strikeout game, which he lost to Steve Traxel last May 6th. And then the brawl game last August, when he was outstanding. Larry Rothschild will have Albie Lopez on the mound today. It'll be interesting to see the very first batter of the ball game, what Pedro's approach is.
Well, I think he's going to pitch the same way. If Gerald Williams is up on top of the plate and hanging over the plate and having some good swings, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Pedro moves him back off. He's not going to change his game for anybody. That's how he pitches. That's how he becomes effective. It's his plate, and he's going to take control of it.
Red Sox take the field. And right now, no rain falling. The forecast earlier was for a very soggy day, but it's been quite a while since it has rained here at Fenway Park. After some rain overnight and this morning, there are some areas that are a little bit muddy on the warning track. And Pedro digging in for his second start of the year. He pitched very well in the season opener in Baltimore. Gave up just 1 run in 7 innings on a bloop hit. But as was the case through much of the season last year, the Red Sox couldn't score runs for him. They scored 7 runs for him in those 6 losses, as he went 18-6 a year ago and held the opponents to a major league record low batting average, 167.
And that 1.74 ERA, about 2 runs better than the number 2 guy, which was Roger Clemens, who finished second in the ERA race a year ago. There's the numbers from opening day: 7 innings, the 1 run, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts for Pedro. Any luck at all, Sean, if the Red Sox had scored just a few runs in that Baltimore series, they could easily be undefeated at this point.
No question. 2 one-run defeats. The blemishes on the Red Sox record right now, both of them 2-1. Red Sox continue to play excellent defense. They've made a major league low 1 error, tied with the New York Mets for the fewest errors in the major leagues. Darren Lewis giving the scuffling Troy O'Leary another day off. He gets the start in left field today. Carl Everett is the center fielder, and Trot Nixon is in right. Shea Hillenbrand off to a very solid start in his rookie year. Once again, the starting third baseman. Craig Graybeck gets the start today at shortstop. Jose Offerman at second. Brian Daubach at first and Jason Varitek back behind the plate after Scott Hatteberg made his first start of the season last night in the Red Sox victory over Tampa Bay. Red Sox won 6-2 last night. They beat the Devil Rays in the home opener here on Friday, 11-4. And boos for Gerald Williams. The fans in attendance are well aware of the history involving Williams and Pedro Martinez. Williams, for disciplinary reasons, sat out the first 2 games of this series, but he's back in there today, hitting 167 for the year. 2 for 12 with a homer for his only RBI. First pitch from Pedro. Plenty of life on the fastball. 94 miles per hour for strike 1. .42 degrees at game time. Same temperature as the first pitch here last night, but a little bit damper today with the rain and the clouds overhead. And last night the breeze blowing in from right. Right now the breeze is blowing out toward left. The crowd wants the strikeout of Williams to start it. Check swing. He did swing, and that's strike 3 as Varitek throws down to Daubach. So Williams is dispatched quickly by Pedro. He strikes out on 3 pitches.
2 fastballs up and away from Gerald Williams, then the curveball to put him away. Tried to hold up the swing, could not. Varitek will have to throw him out at first base, so a quick start for Pedro in this ball game, and the crowd loves the fact that he got Williams to punch out on 3 pitches.
Now Steve Cox, still among the league leaders in batting average, hitting .450. Takes the first ball thrown by Pedro. 9 for 20 for the year. A homer and 2 runs batted in. He homered last night, just fair down the right field line against Paxton Crawford. He pitched a very strong 7 innings in his 5th major league start.
One thing they tried to do last night and was effective against Cox is go up high in the zone with the fastball. Excellent low ball hitter.
There's Crawford. He was very impressive last night. Struck out 9 in 7 innings, allowed just 4 hits. Seemed to have more movement on his pitches than I recall last year.
Yeah, last night, Sean, he had a great changeup, especially late in the game, and also threw some very good sliders.
2-1 to Cox, swing and a miss. Pedro 3-2 in his career against Tampa Bay in 6 starts. 1-1 against them last year, but pitched 2 brilliant ball games. Fastball just inside. The home plate umpire is Tim Timmons. Gary Cederstrom has the plays at first, Marvin Hudson at second, and Tim Welke at third. Three-two pitch. He struck him out with a fastball. 95 miles per hour, so no problems for Pedro warming up on this very chilly day.
That's what we talked about, Sean, last night when they got a couple of strikes on Steve Cox. They tried to go up in the zone with the hard stuff, right up in this area here, and Pedro Martinez puts him away with the fastball. He's got the little zip on it, doesn't he, here in the first inning?
Now Greg Vaughn is certainly a candidate to be a strikeout victim. He's fanned 7 times already this season in 17 at bats. He's 5 for 17 with 1 RBI. 1 strike on Vaughn. Just outside. 1-1.
Been about 3 or 4 in this first inning that have been very close to the corners, but not call strikes.
Vaughn was 0 for 3 last night, struck out 3 times. That ended a 4-game hitting streak that he had to start the year. He's 1 for 7 in the series and has fanned 6 times. He struck out 6 consecutive times before walking in the 9th inning last night. The last 3 at bats on Friday and the first 3 yesterday were all Ks for Vaughn. 3-1 now. So much for the bigger strike zone for this umpire. A rare walk by Pedro. Had a little extra look in at Tim Timmons.
The one thing we've noticed in the early going, they have been very consistent with the high strike, every single umpire, but there have been different strategies with the width of the plate. Now, he appears to be very tight on the corners today. Other umpires we see same corners as a year ago and also calling the high strike.
It's the second walk of the season given up by Pedro. He walked one Oriole in 7 innings on opening day. Here's Fred McGriff, 4 for 20 so far with 2 runs batted in. Last year Pedro walked only 32 in 217 innings. McGriff fouls one back to the screen. I think more amazing, Jerry, the numbers of the hits per innings pitched. He gave up just 128 hits, Pedro, in 217 innings. And he struck out 284. He had more than twice as many strikeouts as he had hits allowed last year.
Not many base runners. Add in those 32 walks, not many runners at all.
Vaughn back to first.
Funny, this weather, Sean, you know, you looked at the game last night, the way the wind was blowing, how cold it was. You didn't expect much offense. The Red Sox exploded offensively. It seemed like the same situation today. Very damp, cool.
Well, one pitch, a breaking ball dug out of the dirt by Varitek. On at first and 2 outs. No score in the top of the first. Pedro taking his time and McGriff asked out.
McGriff's had pretty good success against Pedro. You have 261 batting average, and that's not too bad career wise against Martinez.
Pulled foul wide of first. And a chance to strike out the side again for Martinez with the walk mixed in as he's ahead of McGriff. 1-2.
And a light rain now starting to fall here at Fenway. So maybe this is that shower they were talking about coming in a little late.
The 1-2 pitch. He struck him out, and he struck out the side in the first inning. After a half inning, the Devil Rays nothing, and the Red Sox coming up. Pedro Martinez just struck out the side for the first time in 2001. Scoreless game as the Red Sox come to bat for the first time today. The Boston lineup brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Darren Lewis, the left fielder, will lead off, followed by Jose Offerman, the second baseman. The center fielder Carl Everett bats third, then Manny Ramirez, the DH. Batting fifth, the right fielder Trot Nixon. Jason Varitek is the catcher batting sixth. Shea Hildenbrand, the third baseman, the number 7 hitter. He's hit safely in all 5 of his major league games so far. Brian Daubach, the first baseman, bats 8th, and batting 9th, the shortstop Craig Graybeck against the veteran right-hander Albie Lopez.
And the ace of this pitching staff now. He was a winner in his first outing against Toronto. Won 8 innings in that game. 7 hits, only the 1 run. There are his numbers from last season, 11 and 13. The second half of the season, he had more innings pitched than anybody else in the American League.
Darren Lewis takes ball 1 low.
And just what we needed to make it a little more pleasant here at the ballpark, some rain to go with the 42-degree temperatures. You mentioned Lopez tweaked his knee a little bit in the first start of the season. With some concerns about that, when you add in the possibility of some slippery mound conditions today, that doesn't help. He's gone to 3-0 with Lewis. And there's a strike. Darren 1 for 5 this season with a single. Starting again today as Jimmy Williams is giving Troy O'Leary a couple of days off. With O'Leary off to an 0 for 16 start. 3-2 now.
Lopez will feature the fastball. He'll also turn it over, try to sink it. The curveball, a cut fastball, and a changeup. Works quickly.
Lewis lines it to right center. Ben Grieve makes the running catch. Nice play by Grieve. Ranging to his right through that wet outfield grass. The Devil Rays not a particularly good defensive team.
Batting second, number 30.
They've made 9 errors already this season. That is by far the most in the majors. The next highest total is 6. Steve Cox in left, Gerald Williams in center, and Ben Grieve in right. Castilla, Martinez, Smith, and McGriff in the infield, and Mike DeFelice is the catcher. And the first pitch to Offerman is a strike. Jose 6 for 13. Appeal down to third. That's a strike, says Tim Welke. And now the 0-2 pitch up and away. Well hit, fair ball past McGriff and down the right field line. Grieve over to play it, and Offerman has a 1-out double. And he continues to swing a hot bat. Now up to 500. 7 for 14 for the season. That's his first extra base hit of the year.
Tried to get him on a curveball, but Jose right down that first base line. There was no carom off the wall down there. Just kind of stuck underneath the wall and eventually rolled out to Grieve, which allowed Offerman to have the G-base hit. Since he's been in the lineup, he's just been swinging the bat very well.
Got the chance to play when Chris Steins injured his hamstring and went on the disabled list. He has taken advantage of the playing time. Here's Carl Everett coming off a big night last night. Ball 1. Everett went 3 for 5 with 2 doubles and an RBI last night, raising his average for the season to 238. 5 for 21. 3 of his 5 hits have been for extra bases. The 2 doubles and a home run. Up and away. And rain is intensifying. 2-0 on Everett. Manny Ramirez on deck. Big swing and a miss.
If it continues to rain this hard for any period of time, they're going to have to put the top on the field.
Strike. They are pulled around in the infield for Everett. He has a huge hole on the left side with the shortstop Martinez almost directly behind the second base bag, and Castillo only a step or 2 toward the hole.
There's that high strike again. You can see the catcher DeFelice almost have to come out of his crouch to make that catch.
That one's outside, so a full count now on Everett. DeFelice sets up away, and that's where the pitch is, and Everett couldn't get it. A strikeout for Lopez for the second out of the first inning.
Lopez throwing the ball very hard also. Looks like that ball exploding right at the end.
Number 24.
There's a fastball right by Kyle Everett on the outside corner. Lopez looks like the type of guy that may be just starting to come into his own. Bounced around, starting rotation, bullpen. He's always pitched well against the Red Sox.
And he's pitching now to Manny Ramirez. He's had a memorable first homestand as a member of the Red Sox. Homered on the first pitch he saw in the home opener on Friday, a 3-run homer that tied the game and sent the Red Sox off and running on their way to the big victory. First pitch to him here looked to be outside, but called a strike. So Tim Timmons hasn't been very consistent on those pitches near or outside.
Wow.
And there's a hanging breaking ball called strike 2.
Maybe when it starts to rain out, you get a bigger strike zone. Hitters are going to have to swing the bat.
They're going to have to guess today because there's been no consistency to the strike zone so far. Ramirez had another good day yesterday in home game number 2 for the Red Sox. He went 2 for 4. Drove in a run. So in the first 2 home games, he's 4 for 8 with a homer and 5 runs batted in. For the year, hitting .333. Check swing and a ball in the dirt. He appealed down to first. It was not a swing, said Gary Cedarstrom.
So far, the pitches that Manny has hit the best have been fastballs.
Ramirez and Albie Lopez, former teammates in Cleveland. Lopez, 29 years old, an Arizona native. No score, bottom of the first. 2 outs. Offerman at second base after a 1-out double. Ramirez started to pull the trigger and took another ball low. 2-2.
2 strikes. They've really shifted that outfield over. Gerald Williams playing to the opposite field, and Steve Coxon left toward the center field part of that scoreboard.
Chopped up the middle. Smith has a long way to go, and he doesn't get it. Offerman around to score, and the Red Sox lead 1-0. Another RBI for Ramirez. He now has 6 in the first 3 games here at Fenway Park.
He caught a break there because it seemed to me that Bobby Smith, the second baseman, probably should have dove for the ball to at least knock it down. I think he felt like he could make the play on the backhand. It gets up over the glove. If he dives and he knocks it down, then you're going to have the man have to be held at third base. There's Jose coming around to score, and the Red Sox take the 1-0 lead.
Number 7, the right fielder, Brock Nixon.
Here's Trod Nixon, batting 5th today, hitting .235. 2 homers and 4 runs batted in. And Brian Daubach tied for the team lead with 2 home runs. Nixon hit one last night into the bullpen, the Tampa Bay bullpen in right. McGriff playing a step or 2 behind Ramirez at first. Manny not likely to run with the hamstring trouble. This is the kind of day that you worry about aggravating an injury like that. A cold day and a wet track.
And I'm sure Tommy Hopper has to remind Manny every time he gets on first base, don't try to go 100%.
3-0. There's some guys you don't have to remind them of that in professional sports today. There's Jason Varitek on deck.
He's not one of them.
No, nor is this guy. Taking all the way, it's a strike. and away, ball 4. The Red Sox are looking for more with 2 outs here in the first. The first walk surrendered by Lopez.
Batting 6th, number 33, the catcher, Jason.
First and second and 2 outs, 1 run in. The Red Sox lead 1-0. And here's Jason Varitek, who had a day off yesterday, his first of the season. He's 3 for 15, a .200 batting average with 2 runs batted in. Little dribbler off the end of the bat down to Castilla. Across to McGriff for the out that ends the inning. 1 run on 2 hits for Boston in the first. You're watching the Fox 25 Red Sox television network. It's a great lineup. What a day. Red Sox, NASCAR, Simpsons, Malcolm in the middle.
Who's at 10?
Here's Ben Grieve to begin the second inning. Pedro Martinez struck out the side and walked 1 in the first. Grieve off to a .250 start, 5 for 20 with 4 runs batted in. Grieve, Vinny Castilla, and Bobby Smith due up. Ball 1 seemed to surprise Varitek, and he and Pedro are going to get together. But what do you know? Pedro's pitching with a lead. Wasn't a lot of offense, but it is a run.
Go get him, Pedro.
Yeah,
you got your run.
A lot of days that's all he needs is the 1 run. The 1-0 to Grieve is fouled out of play to the left. A tough day early for the fans when it comes to fielding. Good breaking ball. 1-2. Fastball up and in. He struck him out with the changeup. The first 4 outs made by the Devil Rays have all been via the Pedro Martinez strikeout.
A curveball, 2 fastballs, and now the changeup to pick up his 4th strikeout. Nasty, down and away. You just don't know what to look for from Pedro. He's got command of all 3 of his pitches.
Pitchers allowed to blow on their hands on the mound today due to the cold and wet conditions. Vinny Castilla, a waving swing and a miss for strike 1. He's off to a .368 start. Homer and 6 runs batted in. 7 for 19 for Castilla. Not bundled up like he was last night.
He had that ski mask on.
You can barely just see his eyes.
A little bit of his nose and his eyes. That's it.
It's not any warmer today. Low and away.
The next hit that Castillo gets against Pedro will be his first. He's 0 for 15 in his career against Martinez.
Some of the other Devil Rays have the Castilla headgear in there, but not Vinny.
Offerman had some unusual. He had earmuffs on last night. I don't know if he's wearing them again today at second base, but he had his ears all covered up last night. Yeah, there they are.
It's nice of you to let him borrow those. Maybe he's listening to the game down there. They want strikeout number 5. The 2-2 pitch. You can see Varitek setting up high, and Pedro threw it very high.
Castilla's a very good fastball hitter. You like to try to, if you're going to throw him the fastball, it's going to be up around the letters.
fastball just missed. Well, that's a month's worth of walks from Pedro today. 2 already. Not that he's been throwing it everywhere. He just hasn't gotten the calls on the corner that he sometimes gets.
Well, I'm sure the Devil Rays appreciate that, because there are a lot of times that Pedro does get those calls on the corner, and it makes it just about impossible to face him.
Here's Bobby Smith. 93-mile-per-hour fastball, and Smith couldn't catch up to it. He's 2 for 16, a 125 average with a run batted in. Dahlbach is holding Castilla at first, the middle of the infield at double play depth. Hillenbrand was in on the edge of the grass, but now at the count 0-1, he is backed up. Strike 2.
That's a pitch there. On a day like this, you don't even want to swing at it. That ball bearing back in on the hands at about 93, 94 miles an hour. Forget about it. Let it pass.
Another chance for the 5th strikeout for Martinez here in the 2nd inning. Strike 3 on the corner. Well, this keeps up from the home plate umpire. He's going to have a lot of beefs today. It's really tough to tell on that outside part of the plate what is a strike and what isn't.
Very inconsistent. I mean, we've seen this pitch a couple of times called a ball in this game so far against Martinez. That time it's called a strike, and Bobby Smith can't believe it.
Pedro has struck out 5. That's the first called 3rd strike. Good breaking ball to Mike DeFelice. Nice day to get your first playing time of the series.
Yeah, that's the price you pay to be a backup catcher, you know.
Yeah, it's a nice day. You got Pedro out there. It's raining. Go get him.
Give John a day off.
Day off he's probably happy to have. Although, as you mentioned, Flaherty has hung in there pretty well against Pedro and spoiled his no-hit bid in the 9th inning last August. Here's Flaherty. After Pedro hit Gerald Williams to start that game, he retired 24 in a row last August 29th down at Tampa Bay before Flaherty led off the 9th with a single. Break up the no-hitter. It's Pedro's 3rd career one-hitter. He's looking for 6 strikeouts in 2 innings. He struck him out. You're watching the Fox 25 Red Sox television network. Red Sox baseball continues on Fox 25, and as usual when he's on the mound, it is the Pedro Martinez show on this Sunday afternoon. All 6 Devil Ray outs have been strikeouts, and the Red Sox lead 1-0 through an inning and a half. They come up against Albie Lopez. Shea Hillenbrand, who hit his first major league home run last night, takes strike 1. As we mentioned earlier, Shea's hit in all 5 major league games. 6 for 20, the 300 average with the homer to left field last night. Well hit ball. The second baseman Smith did a split and still recovered in time to throw him out. He's had an eventful 2 innings. Bobby Smith.
Not easy either to play in the infield when you have a wet infield, and that's the case after that rain shower. Watch how quickly that ball skips off the grass and really eats up Bobby Smith. Fortunately, at second base, if it bounces anywhere close to you, you still have a chance because of the short throw. Ball was hit hard, plus it picked up some speed when it hit that grass, the wet grass.
Brian Dahlbach takes strike 1. Brian's hitting .222. 2 homers, 3 runs batted in. Both home runs in the second game of the season at Baltimore, providing all the offense for Hideo Nomo as he pitched his no-hitter. 1-1 now on Dahlbach with Craig Graybeck, the number 9 hitter, on deck. 2-1. Lopez gave up a 1-out double to Offerman in the first. Then he struck out Carl Everett, but Manny Ramirez bounced a seeing eye single up the middle to bring in Offerman. The Red Sox lead 1-0. Shifted around in the infield again with Dahlbach up there. The shortstop Martinez again playing very close to the second base bag.
Yeah, they've actually switched around in the outfield too, and Dahlbach recently has hit a lot of balls at the opposite field.
Dribbled foul over in the Red Sox dugout. Well, we had a brief shower here, and rain was coming down hard for a few minutes. It has gone away, and Dahlbach goes away as well. Swing and a miss for strike 3. The second strikeout for Lopez. Friends, we remind you this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Boston Red Sox and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. In addition, the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Boston Red Sox. Two outs. The base is empty for Craig Graybeck. Off to an 0-for-8 start. He came in as a defensive replacement for Mike Lansing late in the game last night as Lansing got the start. Graybeck sends it very high in the foul ground, and Castilla has it. And Lopez has a 1-2-3 inning. After 2, 1-0 Red Sox.
Back at Fenway, the Red Sox have the 1-0 lead. Well, Red Sox fans, come see the first Sox pitcher to throw a no-hitter in over 30 years, Hideo Nomo, in his next start Tuesday, April 10th against the Orioles. Tickets are still available by calling 617-482-4SOX 24 hours a day or by logging on to redsox.com. A lot of good seats available for that whole Orioles series.
Well, the weather's supposed to warm up this week, and why wouldn't you want to come out and see Hideo no-hit Nomo, as Ed Brickley called him, introducing him to the crowd here on opening day when Nomo got a big hand. Felix Martinez takes the ball outside. Martinez, the number 9 hitter, 4 for 17 so far this year, and up as if to bunt. Have to tell what was wrong with that pitch. 2-0. First 6 outs made by the Devil Rays, all on strikeouts. Last May 6th here at Fenway, when Pedro hooked up with Steve Trax on that incredible pitcher's duel, the first 7 batters retired by Pedro were all via the strikeout. On his way to a 17 strikeout game. 2-2 now. There's a chance to match that if he can get Martinez as the 7th strikeout victim of this one. That 17 strikeout game against them, and then in the near no-hitter in late August in Tampa, he struck out 13 without a walk. Lashed out of play to the left. Another 2-2. Finally, a ball put into play. Hear the fans groan. Offerman to Dahlbach for the out. They could tell when that left the bat it was going to be an out, and there was still an audible groan from the fans. They don't just want the outs, they want the strikeouts.
You think Red Sox fans might be a little spoiled by Martinez? A groan when he gets a ground ball out.
Now they're booing him. No, they're booing Gerald Williams, who's coming back to the plate. Williams struck out on 3 pitches to set the tone for the afternoon. His first get-together with Pedro since Pedro hit him with the 2nd pitch of the game last August 29th. Williams charged the mound, touched off the first of several brawls. Chopper fouls, and Gerald finally makes contact, and there's 1 strike on Williams.
Williams did not play the first 2 games of the series. I guess got a little altercation with Larry Rothschild, the manager, about being taken out of a game, 11-0 game. They pinch hit for him, and according to the people that follow the Deverlays, didn't like it very much.
You can get a little testy, Gerald. There's a strike on the corner. It's been a hit or miss spot so far. 0-2 the count.
Had a heck of a year last year, though, the MVP for the Devil Rays.
They're going to snap that one off a bit too hard. He was bidding to strike out Williams for the second time on 3 pitches. Williams sees his first ball, and it's 1-2.
Everything so far to Gerald Williams has been away, both fastball and curveball.
Red Sox lead 1-0, top of the 3rd. The 1-2 pitch, late swing, and a bouncer into the Red Sox dugout. Screen. Let's pause for station identification. You're watching the Fox 25 Red Sox television network.
You're watching WFXT Fox 25 Boston, home of the Red Sox.
Sean McDonough, Jerry Remy at Fenway Park. Kids opening day. The Red Sox leading 1-0. Pedro has struck out 6 over the first 2 and a third innings. Struck out the side in each of the first 2. The 1-2 pitch. And Williams did get a piece of that one. Another 1-2 pitch. Another breaking ball low and away. He struck him out. Better battle put on by Gerald Williams this time, but he still succumbs. That was a frisbee to Pedro threw up there. That looked like a butterfly darting up and down.
Well, you know, Williams is so geared up for the fastball. He's been on the fastball pretty good, and you had to wonder when was Pedro going to throw him the changeup. Well, he did right there, and really had Williams fooled. One thing I think Gerald does not want to do is get beat on a fastball today, so you've seen Pedro go to a lot of curveballs, and then finally the changeup for the strikeout.
An 8-pitch at bat after the 3-pitch strikeout for Williams the first time up. Pedro has fanned 7, surpassing the total he had on opening day when he struck out 6 Orioles in 7 innings. He has 7 strikeouts in 2 2/3 innings today. Steve Cox, the batter, 1-1 the count. Red Sox have an infield shift on for him. And Hillenbrand way off the line, and Graybeck over by the second base bag. The outfield straight away for the left-handed hitting Cox. And it's a little lob to Hillenbrand, and that ends the inning. Devil Rays do not have a hit through the first 3 innings, and Martinez has struck out 7. You're watching the Fox 25 Red Sox television network.
Oh my goodness.
Right behind the dugout. Those your seats?
Yeah, I wish. Supposed to be Pedro signs out there today.
Well,
I have not had a punch out in a long time.
I don't know. On the popularity meter, you two are probably a dead heat. There's Darren Lewis lifting a fly ball to shallow center. Gerald Williams the catch. And Lewis is 0 for 2.
You mentioned O'Leary being out of the lineup 2 days in a row. Red Sox have the off day tomorrow. I'm sure he's been doing a lot of work in the batting cage over the last couple of days, and maybe returning to left field on Tuesday.
The second baseman,
There's Jose Offerman, who scored the only run of this game. He doubled down the right field line in the first and scored on a single to center by Manny Ramirez, and that's it. Only one other hit in the game. Actually, those were the two hits. Offerman has the one hit, Ramirez the other. Carl Everett to follow. Two and one now. Close for the ball. 3-1. And there's ball 4. Take a quick peek at the scoreboard, brought to you by your friendly New England Dodge dealers. The Yankees had 6 runs in the first off Steve Parris. They now lead 7-0 behind Roger Clemens in the 3rd inning. Baltimore is at Cleveland. The Orioles lead 3-1. Chuck McElroy, the starter. The White Sox and Tigers just getting started. Same for the Twins and the Royals. Mariners and Rangers later, and the same for Anaheim and Oakland. Carl Everett looked at ball 1. Everett struck out his first time up. All of a sudden, Lopez having a tough time throwing a strike. 2-0 on Everett. Manny Ramirez on deck. Lopez has walked 2, struck out 2. Foul ball makes it 2-1.
Not bad for Roger Clemens. Quick 6 runs early in the ball game. Trying to cool off those hot Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, the Blue Jays with 13 home runs heading into that game, firing away the American League lead. The Red Sox were second with 8 home runs. Toronto hitting a team high 315 heading into that game. The league high as a team, 315. The new manager, Buck Martinez, over the National League. The Marlins have a 2-0 lead over Tom Glavine and the Braves in the 4th. The Expos 1-0 over the Mets in the 2nd inning. The Cubs have a 1-0 lead on the Phillies. They're in the 2nd. Everett takes ball 4 low. Back-to-back walks. The Reds and Brewers later on in the National League. Same set for the Pirates and the Astros. San Diego is at Colorado. St. Louis at Arizona, and San Francisco is at Los Angeles in the Sunday night game tonight. The scoreboard brought to you by your friendly New England Dodge dealers. Consecutive walks and 2 men on for Manny Ramirez. And Jerry, one of the things we've talked about a couple of times already with Manny is, would the Red Sox be able to get men on base ahead of him, as Cleveland did so effectively throughout his time with the Indians? And so far this season, there's been a slew of base runners on when Manny's come up.
Yeah, he's got 5 RBI, and really he could have more than that.
Big swing and a miss.
I know he's had a few big hits on this homestand, but I still don't think Ramirez is at the point yet where he's at a comfort level like he will be during the season. He did not have a lot of spring training.
He was fooled on that one. It's 0-2.
That's a pitch that has been fooling him quite a bit. He's had a lot of those type of swings on the curveball. Doesn't seem like he's picking the ball up well out of the pitcher's hand, especially the breaking ball.
After the back-to-back walks to Offerman and Everett, Lopez ahead of Ramirez. 0-2. Manny stepped out. Trot Nixon is on deck. Ramirez participated in just 11 major league games this spring due to the hamstring strain. his left hamstring that has given him the trouble.
Yeah, balk.
That's a balk.
That's
Yeah.
a balk.
Little two-step on the mound by Lopez. Now 2 men in scoring position. And a free pass in a scoring position for both runners. Back-to-back walks and now a balk.
Well, Lopez wanted to try to step off and almost tripped off the mound. Didn't like the sign. Yeah, no question about that. So things going not quite Lopez's way this inning. Back-to-back walks, the balk, a couple of men in scoring position, and the big RBI guy at the plate.
And you wonder if with Pedro on the mound, would you bring the infield in?
Not a bad idea, Sean. You don't figure to get too many off Pedro, especially the way he started this game.
And now it's just McGriff, even with the bag at first. They're playing back up the middle. Castillo about 3 steps behind the third base bag. Outfield again, shifted around toward right for Ramirez. The 0-2 to him. He chased the ball in the dirt for strike 3. A big strikeout for Lopez.
Ninth time that Ramirez has struck out so far this season. A lot of them have been on pitches like that, down out of the strike zone.
And he's now tied with Eric Chavez of Oakland for the league lead in strikeouts.
He strikes out a lot, he walks a lot, and he drives in a lot of runs. That has been his history.
2 men in scoring position with 2 outs for Trot and Nixon, who walked in the first. Off the end of the bat, a little lazy fly in shallow left, and the left fielder slipped down the shortstop. Martinez made a terrific catch. A snow cone with some of the ball showing as he went tumbling over the left fielder Steve Cox, who had slipped down. Great play by Martinez to take 2 runs away from the Red Sox. After 3, 1-0 Boston.
1-0, and with a little luck it could be 3-0 now. A tremendous catch by Felix Martinez, the shortstop. Watch the snow cone in the glove. It just unbelievably is able to hold on to it when he hits the ground. You know, last night Bobby Smith made a great play in front of an outfielder, Randy Wynn, and now Martinez as he tumbles over Steve Cox. What a great play. A lot of that baseball showing, but even after hitting the ground he's able to hold on to it.
Mean of the order now for the Devil Rays in the 4th against Pedro. Bends one outside to Greg Vaughn, who walked in the first inning. Devil Rays have had 2 base runners, both via walks. Martinez has struck out 7. Wasn't a swing. Looked like a pretty good pitch. Called ball 2. 2-0. Certainly the Devil Rays can't complain that Pedro's had a lot of help from the umpire in compiling these strikeouts. 6 of the 7 third strikes have been swinging. Just the one questionable called third strike on Bobby Smith. Pedro's earned just about everything else without the benefit of many borderline pitches going his way. Two and 1 the count. Vaughn, McGriff, and Grieve coming up. Talking about how good the Red Sox fielding has been so far, Jerry, but I think we have a potential crisis looming down the third base line with the attendance this year. They had the lefty the other day who couldn't make the play. Now they've gone to the right-hander, and he just booted a very routine bouncer.
Yeah, it's tough to play with a raincoat on.
I mean, the days of Anthony and the high standards that he set are long gone.
I wonder where Anthony is now. He must start his own business somewhere.
3-1 pitch. Ball 4. There's 3 walks given up by Pedro. League leaders are brought to you by your local Lincoln Mercury dealer.
Number 29.
The category hit batsman in Major League Baseball. Jamie Wright of the Brewers was the pitcher who hit the most opposing hitters, 18 of them. Pedro was 5th with 14. Hit one batter so far this year. That was on a breaking ball on opening day that slipped out of his hand. Fred McGriff hits a high chopper past Jose Cardinal in the first base coach's box. McGriff struck out swinging his first time up. Most opposing batters Pedro walked in a game last year was 3, so he's matched that already today. 3 walks in a game. The high for Pedro last year. Did that 3 times in 29 starts. One and one.
Cut fastball that time from Pedro. Tried to go up and in. Tough to stay warm on a day like this.
And we talked on opening day how hard it is to grip the baseball. The control can be affected. And Pedro has demonstrated in the past how the grip on the ball is so much a key to his success. He has exceptionally long fingers for somebody his size, and he can bend them, it seems, in just about any direction.
It certainly helps with that great changeup that he throws.
1-2 on McGriff.
Actually, the guys that are probably most comfortable, the pitcher, the catcher, and the home plate umpire, they're moving more than anybody else.
Strike 3. Outside part of the plate around the knees. McGriff strikes out for the second time. And Pedro has fanned 8 Tampa Bay Devil Rays with 1 out in the 4th inning.
Talking about being a little chilly.
Number 18.
Fastball, perfect spot. Outside corner, plenty of the corner that time. Although we have seen that pitch at times today, not called a strike. That time it is a strike to McGriff. How about that, huh?
My goodness. Ben Grieve, the batter. Strike 1 the count. He struck out swinging his first time up. Of course, one of the byproducts of the high number of strikeouts and the 3 walks is Pedro's thrown a lot of pitches. 62 already, with just 1 out in the 4th. They held him to 93 pitches on opening day in Baltimore. The changeup missed, 1-1.
We're talking to Jimmy Williams yesterday about that. The writers talking about pitch counts with all of the pitches, and he said, look, you get to about 100. Sometimes it's going to be a little over. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit less. But I would expect somewhere between 110 for Pedro would be probably the limit.
Grieve hits a double play ball to second. Offerman, a bad throw to Graybeck, who managed to get his foot on the bag and turn the double play. Craig Graybeck saves the day there on an errant toss by Offerman. You're watching the Fox 25 Red Sox Network.
The Red Sox, number 30.
Virginia 500 from Martinsville coming up after the game today on Fox 25. NASCAR on Fox. Jason Varitek tries to bunt his way on. Saw Castillo playing back at third. But Castillo didn't have to field the ball because it was foul.
Nice play by Graybeck at the other end of this double play. A high throw from off of him, but Graybeck able to keep contact with the bag and keep the ball out of left field and turn it over. That certainly helps pitch counts when you get those ground ball double plays.
Veritek grounded to third to end the first inning. Lopez bounced that one out in front of the plate. 57-footer for ball one. Lopez worked out of a jam last inning. He had control trouble. Issued back-to-back walks with one out, but got out of it. Having distance trouble right now, coming up short of the plate again. 2-1.
He just beating up DeFelice right now behind the plate.
Veritek, then Hillenbrand and Daubach off the end of the bat. He tried to pull a pitch away from him, and Martinez throws him out. Veritek hustling all the way.
Veritek celebrating a new 4-year deal with the Red Sox. We talked a little bit about it last night, Sean. Pretty good gamble right there. A guy plays the way he does, has taken over in the clubhouse, is somewhat of a leader. And when you look around baseball, you look at some of the catchers in baseball, you know, you get to that Pudge Rodriguez, and there's a little bit of a drop off there, and Veritek into that second category of catches.
You know what the deal? They beat up a couple of his free agent years, so it's good for Jason. He gets good money starting right now and could have benefits for the Red Sox as well. Hillenbrand grounded to second his first time up, hit a hard smash. Bobby Smith knocked it down and threw him out. Dan Duquette and the Red Sox have benefited from signing some of their key players to longer-term deals. I mean, the deals that Pedro and Nomar signed now look like great bargains for the Red Sox when you see what players are making elsewhere today.
Especially Nomar's when you take a look at the Rodriguez and Jeter deals. And we said that at the time. You know, in the long run, it's going to be a great deal for the Red Sox.
Hillenbrand tried to check his swing and could not. He strikes out. 2 outs here in the Red Sox fourth.
Now the pitch that Hillenbrand hit for the home run last night was a fastball down and in, and that time Lopez just stays away from Hillenbrand with the breaking ball. A hard slider to pick up the strikeout.
The fourth strikeout for Lopez. He's retired 4 in a row now since the back-to-back walks last inning. Red Sox lead 1-0 in the bottom of the fourth. Daubach a big swing and a miss. Bryant struck out swinging in the second. Oh, and 2. And a ball just low. Well hit, but hooking. Foul. Just a little bit short of the pole.
Throwing fastballs by Daubach away. They're trying to throw the breaking ball in. Daubach pulled it, but foul. Trying to go to that breaking ball down and in. It stayed out over the plate. Daubach way out in front of it for the foul ball.
Broken bat looper into shallow center, and the catch made by Gerald Williams on the run. A 1-2-3 inning. And we go to the fifth. 1-0 Red Sox.
Now batting for
1-0 Red Sox as we go to the fifth inning. Red Sox fans, once again this season, the Sox will offer free shuttle service between Ruggles Station and Fenway Park. The service provided for all Saturday and Sunday home games. Patriots Day and Memorial Day, the weekend shuttle will serve fans arriving via the Orange Line, several MBTA bus lines and commuter rail lines from Attleboro, Franklin, and Needham. For more information, visit redsox.com. So shuttle service on the weekends from Ruggles to Fenway. Vinny Castilla walked back in the second. Devil Rays have had 3 base runners, all of them via the walk. Martinez has struck out 8, at least 1 in every inning. Struck out 6 in the first 2 innings and has had 1 strikeout in the 3rd and 4th innings. Right at the shortstop, Graybeck. Daubach for the out.
And knowing Castillo's a good fastball hitter, even with the count 2-0, Pedro stays with the curveball and gets the ground ball out to shortstop.
Number 20, the second baseman, Bobby Smith.
Bobby Smith called out on strikes in the second. He'll be followed by the number 8 hitter, Mike DeFelice. Ball 1 low and away. The Devil Rays with the 4 straight losses, 1-4. That's their worst start through 5 games in their team history, this being the 4th season for the Devil Rays franchise. Good changeup. They didn't lose a series of 3 games or more. They weren't swept in a series of 3 games or more, I should say, on the road last year. They're in danger of being swept in a 3-game series if the Red Sox win this one.
The Red Sox see a lot of the Devil Rays, a lot of the Orioles, and a lot of the Yankees in April.
As we mentioned, they really need to take advantage of their games against the weaker teams on the schedule, and the Devil Rays are certainly one of those. 1-2 pitch, wild swing and a miss for strike 3. Number 9 for Pedro Martinez.
Well, he just keeps hitters guessing all the time. Last time he went to the fastball to pick up the strikeout to Smith. This time he'll go to the curveball. You just cannot sit on a pitch with Pedro on the mound. A lot of those curveballs that have been striking out guys away have not been strikes, but they're so fooled by it they can't lay off.
Mike DeFelice takes a breaking ball for a strike. He struck out swinging in the second. He's 1 strike away from strikeout number 10. He fanned 10 or more in a game 15 times last year in 29 starts. More than half the time he took the mound last year, he had 10 strikeouts or more. He struck him out. For the 70th time in his career, Pedro Martinez has struck out 10 or more in a game, and still a long way to go in this one. The Devil Rays do not have a hit through 5, and the Red Sox lead 1-0. Time to go around the bases, brought to you by Budweiser, with the crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. News from the National League. Mark McGwire is expected to return to the Cardinals lineup for their home opener tomorrow. He's been sidelined the last few days by soreness in his surgically repaired right knee. And the Pittsburgh Pirates will open their new stadium against the Cincinnati Reds tomorrow. Around the bases brought to you by Budweiser. Craig Graybeck takes strike 1 as he begins the Boston 5th. Craig popped out to the 3rd baseman Castilla and foul ground in the second, facing Albie Lopez, who's pitched very well. He's a seeing eye single by Manny Ramirez away from working on a shutout right now too.
Yeah, had Bobby Smith, the second baseman, to go for that ball, he might have knocked it down, and the Red Sox would still not have a run.
Here in the 5th, it'll be Graybeck, then the top of the order, Lewis and Offerman. Lopez has set down the last 5 Red Sox hitters in a row. He's given up just 2 hits, both in the first inning. Those are the 2 hits in this game, both in the Boston first. Neither team has had a hit since. And the Devil Rays didn't have one before that in the top of the first. Graybeck tried to check his swing and could not. And Lopez has his 5th strikeout.
Good curveball from Lopez, probably the best that he's featured so far in this game. Graybeck in his career has had a lot of success against Lopez. 5 for 10 coming in, but 0 for 2 this afternoon.
Darren Lewis.
One out. Lopez looking in at Darren Lewis, who was 0 for 2.
I'm surprised both of these pitchers are able to throw the curveball as well as they have in this cool conditions. That ball usually very slippery.
Jam Darren, who popped it straight up. Felice just threw off the mask, took about 2 steps back as he turned around, and that's it for Darren. 2 outs here in the 5th.
Plus, this is not unusual either to see Lopez pitch this way against the Red Sox. He's had a great career against Boston.
Number 30,
Pedro with the gloves on. Keep those hands warm.
Unfortunately, it's also not unusual for the Red Sox to hit this way when Pedro's on the mound. Here we go again.
That's right.
Offerman takes a fastball up and away. He has scored the only run in this game. He doubled down the right field line in the first inning and scored on a single to center by Manny Ramirez. That's it. Offerman walked and was stranded at 3rd in the 3rd. The 2-0 fouled back onto the screen.
It's the Devil Rays yesterday. That was the coldest game as a franchise they have played in. Of course, indoors down in Tampa, they don't have to worry about cold weather there. But even their road games, that ball game last night, coldest temperature they've had to play in yet as a franchise.
And today matches it. 42 degrees again at game time today. A little drizzle added to the mix today. I say temperatures in the 60s tomorrow, though, Jerry. Of course, it's an off day. There's ball 4, so Hoffman walks for the 2nd time. A 2-out base on balls, giving Everett a chance to do some damage here in the 5th. The Red Sox trying to add to this 1-0 lead.
Number 2, the center fielder, Carl Everett.
Everett is struck out and walked.
And just breaks the bat. Guess it had a little splinter crack in that thing and just took care of the rest of it. You don't want to go to home plate with that.
No, better to discover that now. Back to first.
You wouldn't expect Offerman to run in this situation unless maybe Everett gets to 2 strikes.
The Red Sox as a team through the first 5 games plus this one have attempted only 1 stolen base. They're 0 for 1. Everett sends that to deep left. A long run for Cox. He has to play it off the wall. He falls down. Hoffman waved in by Gene Lamont. And the relay from Castilla not in time.
Steve Cox has had some difficulties out there the last couple of days, and a lot of it because of the wet ground, the rain. He'll play this ball off the wall, but as soon as Gene Lamont sees the slip out here, he continues to wave Offerman home. And once again, a very nice slide at home plate for Jose Offerman. Around the catcher's leg and gets it with the hand. Smart sliding. You don't want to run into that leg. Try to get around it.
Look like Cox compounded the problem too when he threw it over the head of the shortstop Martinez and one-hopped Castilla. It has been scored, a double and an RBI for Everett. And a 2-0 lead for the Red Sox. Manny Ramirez with Everett at second base. Looked at ball one. Manny bounced a single through the middle. To drive in the first run in the first inning, he struck out swinging with a couple of men in scoring position. In the third, once again, he's up there with a man on base and a runner in scoring position with Everett at second. Fastball high and tight, 2-0.
Red Sox had some big 2-out base hits in the game last night. Big 2-out base hit there by Carl Everett.
Every starter had at least one hit last night for the Red Sox. Just 3 hits today, but they've been timely. Lopez pitching very carefully to Ramirez. First base open. Trot Nixon is on deck. And that's something that would definitely help Ramirez, you would think, Jerry, if the Red Sox can find somebody who can move into that 5th spot in the batting order behind him and hit consistently. So far, they haven't found a guy who can do that, but Manny has still managed to be productive.
Yeah, the lineup certainly changed without Nomar. It was supposed to be Nomar and Ramirez and then Everett. But of course they had to make that switch.
And he fouled it off his foot. Talking to a couple of the Red Sox players after the opening game, they were discussing the importance of Manny getting off to that good start here at home. That he is a very quiet and in some ways sensitive guy, and he wants to be well liked and appreciated by his teammates, coaches, the fans, and the reception he got, and then to hit a home run on the first pitch he saw was really important for him.
He's had better response from the crowd here than he had in Cleveland. He's going to be popular with his teammates. There's no question about that. And he drives in runs, he'll be popular with the fans.
Had the green light on 3-0 and fouled it off his foot. Now the 3-1 pitch. He laid off it and took ball 4. And this is looking like a typical Manny Ramirez game so far for the Red Sox. He has an RBI hit. He has a strikeout. He has a walk. It's been a typical day for Manny to this point this season. Lopez has walked 5, including 2 in this inning. There's a 2-out walk to Offerman in this inning. That got him in trouble. Now Nixon, who walked in the first, and he hit that pop-up in shallow left that was run down by Martinez, the shortstop, as he went toppling over the sliding left fielder Cox to end the 3rd inning with a couple of men in scoring position. I mean, this is offensive outpouring of support for Pedro now. 2 runs for the Red Sox, 2 runs, 3 hits for Boston, no runs and no hits for Tampa Bay here in the 5th inning. Strike outside part of the plate around the knees, 1-1. Meanwhile, the Yankees now lead Toronto 12-0 behind Roger Clemens. Toronto started the day at 5-1. And the Orioles, the Red Sox, and the Yankees all tied for second at 3-2. So Toronto a game and a half ahead of those 3 teams, and Tampa Bay in the cellar with their 1-4 record. The 2-1 to Nixon. Out of play to the left.
You know, as a starting pitcher, when you're facing Pedro Martinez, you just can't afford to give up too many.
In the dirt, Nixon didn't chase it. DeFelice blocked it. Tim Timmons, the umpire, wants to look at the ball. So it's a full count with 2 outs, and the runners will be off with the pitch. Everett from second, and Ramirez from first, with Jason Varitek hoping for a chance to hit in this inning.
Well, you normally say a ball in the gap and score 2 runs on the 3-2 count, but not the case, I don't think, with Ramirez out there.
Runners go. Nixon hits it high in the air and right, and not all that deep. And Grieve has it. The Red Sox get a run and they strand 2. And the focus returns to Pedro Martinez. The Devil Rays looking for their first hit as we go to the 6th. The show that changed the way you talk has changed stations. We've been telling you for weeks, and now if you want to watch Seinfeld, you'll have to do it on Fox. Seinfeld, weeknights at 7 on Fox 25. In 93 starts since coming to the Red Sox, Pedro Martinez has had 10 strikeouts or more in 43 of those 93 games, including today. He has fanned 10 in 5 innings. He's thrown 74 pitches, 46 of them strikes. He struck out the last 2 batters of the 5th. It's the number 9 hitter Felix Martinez to begin the 6th. He slaps one out of play to the left. Martinez grounded to the second baseman, Offerman, in the 3rd. And the top of the order, Gerald Williams and Steve Cox. Lined up the middle, a base hit. So Tampa Bay has its first hit with Martinez singling to start the 6th. And fans with visions of the Red Sox second no-hitter the opening week of the season dancing through their heads. With polite applause for Pedro as he loses the no-hit bid in the 6th.
A couple of fastballs to Martinez, and Martinez right back up the middle with the line drive base hit. The number 9 hitter in the batting order picking up the first hit.
Now the focus shifts to winning the game. It's always the primary focus anyway, but when you get this deep into the ball game without allowing a hit, the folks certainly start to think about it. Wall up and in on Williams, who was struck out twice. He struck out swinging after a 3-pitch at bat in the 1st. He lasted 8 pitches before going down swinging in the 3rd. Six of the 9 Tampa Bay hitters in the lineup today have struck out at least once. Only Greg Vaughn, Vinny Castilla, and Felix Martinez have avoided striking out to this point. Bounce down the line, foul. Well, he got rid of the raincoat there, made the play that time.
Yeah, big difference. A lot more mobility. Brings a smile to his face. Now, Pedro had to sit around quite for a long time in the dugout, too. That was probably the longest he had to sit between innings. First guy up gets the base hit.
Foul ball just off to our right. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Pedro with a chance to fan Williams for the 3rd time in their first head-to-head meeting since the brawl last year. Little pop fly to right. Nixon a long way in. He's there to make the catch. 1 out in the 6th. Let's check the scoreboard, brought to you by your friendly New England Dodge dealers. The Yankees, as we mentioned a moment ago, pummeling the Toronto Blue Jays. Jorge Posada and Tino Martinez with 4 runs batted in apiece. Blue Jays do have 2 now on Clemens. It's still 12-2 New York. Ellis Burks has hit a home run for Cleveland, but the Orioles still lead the Indians 3-2 in the 6th. Tigers and White Sox are scoreless in the 3rd. Jeff Weaver against David Wells. The Royals lead 1-0 in the 3rd against Minnesota behind Max Suzuki. Over in the National League, the Marlins now leading Tom Glavine and the Braves 6-1. They're in the 7th inning. The Expos 2 and the Mets 1. Now Leiter on the mound in that one for New York. The Phillies have a 3-1 lead over the Cubs. They're in the 5th. Brewers 3 and the Reds 0 in the 3rd. Jimmy Haynes working on the shutout. The Pirates 3 and the Astros 1 in the 1st. Those are all the games that are underway right now in Major League Baseball. Steve Cox pops one up in shallow left center. Lewis the catch. 2 outs here in the 6th.
When you get to this stage of the game, it's nice to see those hitters swing at that first pitch. It certainly helps the pitch count as you get deeper into the ball game. And when you have as many strikeouts as Pedro has, hitters have a tendency in the 2nd and 3rd bat to go after that first one. You don't want to become another victim.
Pedro hasn't had a strikeout here in the 6th. At least 1 strikeout in every inning prior to this one. Here's Greg Vaughn, was walked twice. Devil Rays have 1 hit. Pedro has walked 3 and struck out 10. Boston leads 2-0. Strike 1. All kinds of room on the right side of the infield for Vaughn, with Dahlbach holding Martinez at first, and you can see how close Offerman is to the second base bag. Strike 2. That brings the fans back to life again. In anticipation of punch out number 11. The 0-2 pitch. He struck him out. Eleven strikeouts for Pedro, but the Devil Rays finally do break into the hit column. Bottom of the 6th upcoming. 2-0 Boston. Pedro Martinez working on a 1-hitter through 6. The Red Sox lead 2-0. Red Sox scored in the 1st inning. Manny Ramirez with 2 outs and Jose Offerman at second after a double. Bounced one through the middle to bring in Offerman, and Offerman was aboard again. After some Pedro Martinez mastery of the Devil Rays in the 5th inning, Offerman scored on a double by Carl Everett. Pedro threw a lot of pitches in the first 3 innings. As he struck out the side in the 1st and 2nd. Got a couple of walks mixed in. They'll drive up the pitch count. He's had an easier time in terms of the pitch count over the last 3. Jason Varitek has grounded out twice. Once to third, once to short. Facing Albie Lopez. Throws a backdoor breaking ball for strike 2. Varitek, Hillenbrand, and Dahlbach coming up. Defensive swing, another chopper on the left side. Castillo to McGriff for the out. Let's pause for station identification. You're watching the Fox 25 Red Sox television network.
You're watching WFXT Fox 25 Boston, home of the Red Sox.
The 3rd baseman, Shea Hillenbrand.
Sean McDonough, Jerry Remy, our producer Russ Ken. Our director John Wilson, associate producer David Corus. Shea Hillenbrand bangs one toward the gap in left center, and it is off the glove of Steve Cox. Played by Williams. Hillenbrand has a double.
Looked like Steve Cox out in left field took the wrong angle after that fly ball was running straight across instead of back toward the wall, and eventually the ball gets over his head. Curveball. Hillenbrand not exactly crushing it, but you see the direction that Cox goes, straight across, and he can't reach it. Gerald Williams backing up the play, gets it back in, but Hillenbrand at second base with the one-out double.
So Hillenbrand's now hit safely in all 6 of his major league games. It's his second major league double. Brian Daubach is struck out in line to center. Hillenbrand, with that 6-game hit streak to start the season, is the first Red Sox rookie starting player to begin the season with hits in the Red Sox first 6 games of the year since Jimmy Pearsall did it back in 1952.
A couple of rookies that come to mind you would think may have done it would be Jim Rice and Fred Lynn.
He started hitting on the first day of spring training, and he hasn't stopped. 1-1 on Daubach with Craig Graybeck on deck. 2-0 Boston in the 6th. One and two now. Lopez got a new ball. Didn't like the one that was thrown into play after Daubach lashed that last one into the stands quickly and had the folks ducking on the left side. Hillenbrand at second, 1 out. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Red Sox. No runs, 1 hit for the Devil Rays. Neither team has made an error. Line out of play to the left again. It is April, isn't it?
It certainly looks that way weather-wise. Don Zim used to call it 39 and drizzle.
Oh my gosh. I think they'll eventually start to see a few more signs of the approaching warm weather.
You got to tip your cap to these Red Sox fans. A full house here last night, again this afternoon, and more like football weather than baseball weather.
And folks are dressed accordingly. They're here and they're enthusiastic, taking part in the wave right now as it makes its way around the ballpark. He struck him out with a high fastball. 2 down here in the 6th. 6 strikeouts for Lopez.
Got a couple of strikes on Daubach. Climbs the ladder upstairs with the fastball, and again you can't afford to take that pitch this season. I think you're just going to see more strikeouts. You're going to see a few more pop-ups and fly balls because of that high strike if the guy has some good life on his fastball.
And so far this season the numbers indicate that it has helped the pitchers. Batting average is down a little bit, the runs per game down, the time of game a little bit shorter.
A bit like the old days, you know, as a hitter, you know you got to swing the bat.
Here's Graybeck looking for his first hit of the season. 0 for 10 with an 0 for 2 today. Hits that to right, but Grieve doesn't have far to go to make the catch. Red Sox cannot take advantage of the 1-out double by Hillenbrand. Boston has left 7. We go to the 7th. 2-0 Red Sox.
Next after the game, NASCAR on Fox tears into Martinsville Speedway, where the race for the Winston Cup title is getting nasty. Watch the battle for the checkered flag. NASCAR on Fox is coming up next on Fox 25.
Wow. Jeff Gordon, the pole sitter. Martinsville. Half-mile oval. 12-degree banking and all the turns.
You're amazing. You could do anything.
I could not do auto racing.
You got all the.
And I know you couldn't. You couldn't even figure out how to pump gas when we're down in Florida, for crying out loud. So I doubt you're going to be talking about auto racing. There's a ball off the glove of Daubach and out in a shallow right, and McGriff is aboard. Tough chance for Daubach, a ball that he could have come up with. Probably scored a hit.
The crossover step, the dive by Daubach, and actually deflects off the heel of the glove. And gets by him for the single for Fred McGriff. McGriff has struck out twice previous to that at bat, so he jumps on the first curveball and picks up the base hit.
The second hit. For Tampa Bay. Every time they get a base runner now, they get the tying run to the plate. Ben Grieve is struck out and grounded into a 4-6-3 double play. Would have been an interesting, tougher scoring call for Charlie Scoggins if they didn't already have one hit.
At this stage of the game, they might have called it an error.
Yeah. It did go off his glove, under his glove, and then again he did have to dive for it. 0-2 the count on Grieve with Castilla on deck. He's really coach of the national championship Boston College hockey team, and Brian Giunta, their great forward who led the country in goals. Pedro leads the world in strikeouts. He has 12 today now after freezing Grieve with the breaking ball.
Well, that's been the amazing thing to me today with the Pedro, the control he's had with that curveball. And as we mentioned, this cold temperature is not the easiest thing to do. Making a difference to Pedro, whether it's 39 and drizzle or 85 and humid.
2-0 Boston in the 7th. Vinny Castilla the batter. He and Felix Martinez now the only two who have not struck out today for Tampa Bay. Castilla has walked and grounded to short. Swing and a miss for strike one. Well, do you want to make a pick on the Virginia 500 today? I know you've been studying the field. Jeff Gordon's on the pole.
I like a Dale Jarrett.
All right. See how you do. Oh, 2 the count. So we know over the years your marathon picks have been right on the money year after year.
Just go with the Kenyon.
They're hungry for strikeout number 13. Castilla will not accommodate the masses with that swing as he fouled one off.
Is Greenwell racing a car in this race?
I don't believe Mike
no?
Greenwell's in this one. No.
I'll stay with Dale Jarrett.
The way you drove us around spring training with your race car driver, I'd go with you in one of these races.
I wouldn't talk. Just because I can't pump gas, I do know you can drive.
Old heavy foot Remy. Another 0-2 pitch. Breaking ball. Too far outside for Castilla to go after it. I'm going to take the pulse there to go with Jeff Gordon. He's due. Really a risky pick as Dale Jarrett is starting 13th in the race. 1-2 pitch in the dirt.
How the ratings been for that? Outstanding.
Oh, outstanding.
Yeah. As big as Temptation Island?
I don't know about that. Two-two pitch. He's been trying that all day, and he really hasn't thrown one of his best breaking balls over the outside part of the plate to Castilla.
He's got a few guys to chase that pitch, but Vinny's been able to lay off.
So a full count with one out. McGriff at first here in the 7th. The Red Sox leading 2-0. Griff is not running, and there's the breaking ball for strike 3. Finally threw one. Close enough that Castilla offered at it. He swung. It looked like it was a good pitch anyway. 13 strikeouts for Martinez.
Well, Castilla has no idea how hard Pedro throws because he hasn't seen the fastballs, but all breaking balls. Another curveball. And it looked like he called that on the strike on the pitch.
Swing and a miss. Strike 1 for Bobby Smith. He has struck out twice. One's looking and one's swinging. Strike 2. And so far no contest in this at bat. They're on their feet now. Pedro tries to strike out 3 in a row. Strike out the side for the 3rd time in 7 innings today. Fastball 96 miles per hour. Just a little bit low and outside. Now the 1-2. Strike 3. 14 strikeouts for Pedro in 7 innings. Boston Red Sox baseball on Fox 25 is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. When the action heats up this season, cool off at your neighborhood Dunkin' Donuts. Loosen up a little. And by your New England Toyota dealers, where you'll find exceptional value every day. And Pedro and the rest of the population looking forward to those days when we have to cool off a little.
That's interesting, Sean. A lot of pitches between innings will go up to the clubhouse to stay warm. Pedro elects to sit on the bench, put the jacket on, put the gloves on, and hope that his teammates can go up with a few more runs.
14 strikeouts for Pedro today. He has struck out the side in the 1st, 2nd, and 7th innings. He's had at least 1 strikeout in every inning. Just 2 singles for the Devil Rays. They didn't have any hits until Felix Martinez led off the 6th with a clean single to center. Top of the Red Sox order in the 7th inning, Darren Lewis 0 for 3. And then Jose Offerman and Carl Everett. Darren tried to check his swing and could not. 1-1. Lopez up over 100 pitches, but no action in the Tampa Bay bullpen. Well hit ball in right center and a running catch made by Gerald Williams. And Darren Lewis is 0 for 4, but twice today he's hit the ball hard at that part of the outfield, and both times the ball was run down, once by Ben Grieve and that time by Gerald Williams.
Yeah, perfect positioning out there for Gerald Williams. They were shading Darren Lewis slightly toward the opposite field and playing shallow, and the ball stood up just long enough for Williams to make a play on it.
1 out. There's Jose Offerman, who again has been a real spark for this Red Sox offense. He scored both runs. He's been on base all 3 times he's been up. He doubled and scored in the 1st, walked, was stranded at 3rd in the 3rd. He walked and scored the 2nd Red Sox run in the 5th. Sends that very high in the direction of shallow left. Martinez made the catch. Looked like he was bailing out to make way for the left fielder. Actually, he was just adjusting his steps to get under the ball.
He'll back pedal and back towards center field just a touch. And the one-handed catch. I don't see many guys catch those pop-ups with 2 hands anymore. A lot of one-handed catches. It's like a pretty new glove he's wearing there, too.
That headgear is going to get a little hot and itchy in the games in August. Everett the batter. Carl took a strike. Lopez has retired 4 in a row. Everett today has struck out, walked, and doubled. Drove in the Red Sox second run with his double off the wall and left in the 5th inning. Just received word that there's going to be a public celebration of the Boston College Hockey National Championship tomorrow at 5:30 at the Conti Forum on the BC campus. It's free and open to the public. The gates will open at 4:30. So if you want to go out and attend the public celebration, congratulate Coach Jerry York and his team. It's tomorrow. Deep drive to right by Everett. Grieve on the run. That ball's off the bottom of the wall. And another double for Everett, his second. He had 2 doubles last night, 2 more doubles today. 3 for 4 a day for Everett, and the Red Sox have a 2-out man in scoring position.
Yeah, starting to heat up. 3 hits in the game last night, 2 more today, along with the walk. Got a couple of topspin fly balls out toward the outfield last couple of days. That topspin home run on opening day here at Fenway, and that one short hops the short fence in right for the 2-out double.
So yet again a man in scoring position for Manny Ramirez. That's been the case in every at bat for Manny today. He singled to knock in a run in the first, struck out with a couple men on in the third, and walked with Everett at second in the 5th inning.
That's got 5 hits on the day and 4 have been doubles. Esteban Yan loosening in the bullpen.
Strike at the knees to Ramirez. Again, just to reiterate, because Everett hit the ball right as we were finishing up the point, that rally at Boston College tomorrow, the public celebration of the hockey championship at 5:30 at the Conti Forum, open to the public and free. The gates open at 4:30. Jerry York, his staff and players will be there. A number of speakers. 0-2 the count.
I'll bet you're going to be there.
I don't know. I have no plans to be at this time. Actually, I will not be. I won't be able to. But I'm sure several members of our crew are. Intern Blair Lewis, a Boston College student who I don't think got much sleep last night based on his performance here in the booth today. And our producer Russ Ken, who's not going to send a check to BC this year because he showed the tape of the goal. There's a little lob into shallow right center. Another hit for Ramirez and another RBI as Everett scores. And it's 3-0.
Well, that's how you drive in 140 runs a year. Gets down in the count 0-2. A pretty good curveball from Albie Lopez, and Ramirez able to somehow make contact and drop it in for the base hit. All the Red Sox runs today have come with 2 outs. Number 7, 2-out double, and then the 2-out base hit to score Everett from second base to give the Red Sox the 3-0 lead.
Well, they got Manny to drive in runs. He's 5 for 9 so far this season with men in scoring position. He's now driven in 7 runs in 6 games. He's at first with 2 outs for Trot Nixon. He's 0 for 2 with a walk. They're playing behind Ramirez at first. The ball high, 1-1. 3 runs, 6 hits for Boston. No runs, 2 hits for Tampa Bay. Neither team has made an error, and undoubtedly Lopez is coming to the end of this outing. Up and away, 2-1.
I think a heck of a game, though, against the Red Sox. Only the 3 runs here to the 7th inning. Derek Lowe just now starting to loosen up. That's probably for the 9th.
Pedro's thrown 99 pitches. Good breaking ball by Lopez over the inside part. 2-2. Chopped on the right side for McGriff. He'll make the play himself. And that ends the inning. But the Red Sox do more two-out damage. Doubled by Everett. The single by Ramirez. After 7, the Red Sox 3 and the Devil Rays nothing. Boston Red Sox baseball on Fox 25 is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, celebrating 30 years of freedom, 30 years, one mission, low fares. And by McDonald's, we love to see you smile. And the game summary is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. The Red Sox lead 3-0. They got a run for Pedro in the first. Martinez has allowed only 2 hits. He struck out 14 through 7 innings. 70th 10 strikeout or more game of his career. The 43rd with the Red Sox. Ramirez has driven in 2 of the 3 runs. Everett has the other RBI. Both Manny and Carl with 2 hits apiece. Offerman has scored twice. Mike DeFelice pulls 1 foul. The attendance here this afternoon, 31,373. That is the 3rd sellout in as many games this season at Fenway, and the 61st in a row dating back to last season, extending the longest such streak in Red Sox history. Jerry Remy, such a hottie.
Oh my goodness. I really I appeal to ladies over 80 and under 12, it seems like.
Well, you had the young fans with your name spelled out on the T-shirts. That fan thinks you're hot, and I mean, who could argue? You're an oil painting.
Yeah, I'm not exactly Ben Affleck up here.
DeFelice has struck out twice. Sends that one back to the screen. That's probably in response to one of the radio shows I was on the other day with Baltazar and Pebbles on Jammin' 94.5. I know you listened to it on the way in. She asked me, what's the surest way to get on TV? I said, well, make a sign about Jerry Remy, because of his ego, he always tells the director, make sure you put that sign on now.
Oh, so now we got the secret.
That could be, maybe that's her. Strike 3, 15 strikeouts for Martinez. 4 in a row.
Well, I'll tell you, Sean, this has to go right along with one of the top performances from Pedro that we've watched. It's really been just about no chance all day long. I still think the best game that he ever pitched was the one that we did in Yankee Stadium against New York. I think it was last season. Well, it's hard to tell the difference. That was actually 2 years ago.
Yes. Homer by Chili Davis, I believe, in the first inning,
yes.
And then nothing.
And then absolutely no chance.
The best team in baseball, 3-time world champions in a row, 4 out of 5 years. Now here's Martinez, the only man in the lineup who has not struck out today. And of course, he had their first hit leading off the 6th inning. Darrell Williams has struck out twice. Cox once. Vaughn once. McGriff twice. Grieve twice. Castillo once. Smith 3 times. Martinez bunts. And an excellent bunt. Fans boo the bunt. But they need base runners, and Pedro Martinez has now given up 2 singles to Felix Martinez, and he's the unlikeliest guy probably in the league to get their first hit. Never mind 2 hits. He had the lowest batting average in the league last year of any player with 300 plate appearances.
That's a heck of a bunt, and good drag bunt by Martinez. You do anything you possibly can to get on base, and if you have that weapon, you use it.
There's Gerald Williams, who struck out in his first 2 at bats and then flied to right in the 6th. Just missed striking out again, as he had 2 strikes on him when he put it in play. Hillenbrand in on the edge of the grass at 3rd. And it's hit in his direction. Played it on the in-between hop. Goes to first for the out.
He has me baffled sometime down at 3rd. On balls that looks like I think he's going to stay back on, he charges, and then other ones he stays back on.
Number 28.
Not a lot of third base experience for Hillenbrand. Catcher, a shortstop. That's a nice play on the in-between hop, the off-balance throw, and gets the out at first base. Almost played it into the tough hop, but knowing that Williams has good speed, he figured he had to charge the ball to get the out.
Foul ball from Steve Cox. 0 for 3 with a strikeout his first time up. 2 outs. Felix Martinez at second base, the first Tampa Bay player to reach second base today. Cox nubs one foul, 0-2.
See if they climb the ladder on Cox with 2 strikes.
The 0-2 pitch. They did climb the ladder with a little chin music. Sending Cox down on a knee. Now the 1-2 pitch. Just outside. Pedro took a step toward the dugout. Obviously, Tim Timmons has no flair for the dramatic. The crowd roaring in anticipation of the 16th strikeout. Cox still up there. The 2-2 pitch. He struck him out with the changeup. 16 strikeouts for Pedro Martinez through 8 innings. After 7 1/2, 3-0 Boston. This is the Fox 25 Red Sox television network. Red Sox lead 3-0 as we go to the bottom of the 8th. They're 3 outs away from a sweep of this 3-game series with the Devil Rays. Coming up right after the game, it's NASCAR on Fox, the Virginia 500. Martinsville Speedway. Don't miss any of the racing action. NASCAR on Fox coming up right after the game, right here on Fox 25. Well, it looks like Pedro's finished for the day after 8 innings. Certainly isn't showing any signs of tiring, but they're always very careful with the pitch count with Pedro and the other starters.
Number 33.
This is the 6th game of the year, and 6 very good starts, or even better than very good starts, from the Red Sox starters so far. Here's the new pitcher for Tampa Bay, Esteban Yan.
One of the guys that is bidding to become the closer on this Devil Ray club. Saw the numbers from a year ago. Had a rough outing in his first outing of the season. 1 inning, 3 hits, and 3 earned runs allowed against the Blue Jays.
Veritek 0 for 3, 3 groundouts on the left side of the infield. Veritek, Hillenbrand, and Dahlbach due up. Started Lopez, went 7 innings, allowed 3 runs, all earned on 6 hits. He walked 5, struck out 6, committed a balk. Chopped on the right side this time, and Jan to McGriff for the out. Lopez threw 117 pitches, 69 strikes. With the first out of the inning, Derek Lowe now begins throwing again. He's going to come in to try to save it. Be a save situation if it stays a 3-run lead. If the Red Sox add to the lead here, it will not be a save situation for Lowe. Here's Hillenbrand. Extended his season opening, career opening hit streak to 6 games with his double left center in his last at bat. Our Fox box operator, Leo White, let's talk about different teams, you know, like you had the all anatomy team in baseball with Raleigh Fingers and Rich Hand and Barry Foote. Esteban Yan could be on the all first and last name that rhyme team, but I don't know if I can think of anybody else who's on that team. I'm gonna have to leave it to Leo. They're offering suggestions with the truck that do not rhyme. The concept of rhyming lost on John Wilson. At least when it's in less than spicy language.
It'll take some time to think about that. I'm sure Leo White will come up with a few.
I can't come up with anybody else. You know, Leo probably could. One pitch. Little flare, shallow left center, in for another hit for Hillenbrand. He started out 0 for 2. Now he's 2 for 4.
It's got to be a tremendous boost to his confidence to get off to the type of start he has. 6 straight games now he's hitting. He's got a couple of hits today.
The first baseman.
Played pretty solid defense down at third base. It's a gamble, always a gamble, taking a guy out of AA baseball, no AAA experience at all, and throwing him in the starting lineup on opening day.
Really very few other options for the Red Sox, with Valentin still hurt. With the struggle of Offerman in spring training, they decided Steins would be a better fit over at second base. As you mentioned, what you worry about is if he comes up too soon, do you have a situation like with Wilton Veras, who seemed to have his career sidetracked by maybe being here too early. But Hillenbrand's older than Veras. Shea's 25 years old, not like a guy right out of high school who's rushing up there to the major league.
And a little more advanced as a hitter than Wilton Veras. I think what happened with Veras is he didn't hit, and I think in time that affected his fielding down at third base.
One strike on Daubach. He's 0 for 3. Ball outside, 1 ball and 1 strike. And Jerry, the reality of it really is through this first week of the season, the Red Sox are playing very well. The question marks, the starting pitching after Pedro, all 4 of them did an excellent job, and Pedro has been his usual unbelievable self in the 2 outings. They've only made 1 error as a team. They're getting the timely hitting. And this is an extended stretch of playing well. They finished up spring training on a winning roll after the 2-12 start. And it's carrying into the regular season.
Yeah, the only thing that kept them from this point being undefeated was maybe a clutch hit here and there in that Baltimore series. Had trouble with men in scoring position. Had some base runners, not a lot of them, but had trouble getting them in. So the lack of offense in the first 3 games hurt them, but they've certainly changed that since being home.
Daubach bounces one down to McGriff. Took a look at second, but had no play on Hillenbrand. So Daubach is the second out of the inning. And Hillenbrand is once again in scoring position here in the 8th.
And in fairness to the Red Sox, in that series, they had some pretty good pitches throw against him. Sidney Ponson pitched very well. Jason Johnson probably pitched the best game of his life against the Red Sox. And Hankton was outstanding on opening day against Pedro.
Meanwhile, the Red Sox have not had a game in which they have pitched poorly. And if the lead holds up in the 9th, they'll be 4-2 in possession of a 3-game winning streak. With a day off tomorrow, then the Orioles come to town on Tuesday. Hideo Nomo will pitch, and as Jerry mentioned earlier, there are a lot of good seats available for that game. We are next with you on Friday night, and the New York Yankees will be here for the first meeting of the season between the 2 teams.
A 4-game series, isn't it?
Yep, including on the Patriots Day Monday game, morning start. It's a 6 p.m. start on Friday night, right here on the Fox 25 network. 2-0 to Graybeck. Wow. I know he's short, but not that short.
He's had everything called against him. High pitches, low pitches. Still looking for his first hit.
0 for 3 today. And 0 for 11 for the season. Now with play to the right. 2-2. Dismissed. Fastball low and away. Full count with 2 outs. Should Raybeck reach, Darren Lewis would have a chance to bat here in the 8th inning. The big bats are coming up for Tampa Bay in the 9th. The 3, 4, and 5 hitters, Vaughn, McGriff, and Grieve. In all likelihood against Derek Lowe, who has stopped throwing in bullpen. Three-two pitch, got him. And a breaking ball about belt high. First strikeout for Jan. It ends the inning. We go to the 9th. The Red Sox leading 3-0. Boston Red Sox baseball on Fox 25 is brought to you by Southwest Airlines, celebrating 30 years of freedom. 30 years, one mission, low fares. By your New England Ford dealers. Visit your New England Ford dealers for the best-selling trucks on the planet. By Bud Light, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down. Make it a Bud Light. By Dunkin' Donuts, when the action heats up this season, cool off at your neighborhood Dunkin' Donuts. Loosen up a little. And by Dodge and the friendly New England Dodge dealers near you. In a perfect world, everything would be different. For the Red Sox, not much would be different about today's game. They lead 3-0. Devil Rays got just 3 hits in 8 innings against Pedro Martinez. And on to try to save it is Derek Lowe, hoping for his first save of the season.
Derek Lowe picked up a couple of the L's in that Baltimore series, not save situations. And Lowe worked a total of an inning and 2/3, 3 hits, a couple of runs, and first opportunity to pick up a save this year for the Red Sox.
And Derek gave up the winning run in the 11th inning on opening day on the Brady Anderson single in Baltimore, and then walked in that winning run in the bottom of the 9th Thursday night in Baltimore. Fans booed as he came in. They weren't booing him. They were just disappointed that Pedro wasn't coming back out. After 112 pitches, that's it. Look out for the bat. Hillenbrand had to avoid the bat. Nice play cutting in front of Graybeck to pick up the ball, make the throw on the run, and get Greg Vaughn, who's now 0 for 2.
Hillenbrand paid no attention to the barrel of the bat that was heading his direction. He just jumped out of the way and made the play on what he's supposed to, the baseball. Sidearm throw, and Daubach able to keep contact with that first base bag to get the first out here in the bottom of the 9th, or top of the 9th, I should say.
Devil Rays had just one man reach second base against Martinez. That was Felix Martinez last inning. Fred McGriff takes a strike. He has struck out twice and singled to right. Close to the ball. If Lowe can save, it'll be the first save of the season for the Red Sox. He's trying to combine with Martinez on the second shutout. Of course, the no-mo no-hitter. Work to do to preserve this one as McGriff singles past Offerman out in the center field.
Well, the play of the game is brought to you by New England Ford dealers, and we'll show you 3 of the 16 strikeouts for Pedro Martinez. 1 on the changeup, a fastball, and another on a fastball for Pedro. For the best selection of cars, trucks, and SUVs on the planet, visit your local New England Ford dealers or log on to newenglandford.com.
The Devil Rays need another base runner before they can get the tying run to the plate. Here's Ben Grieve, 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts, and he is grounded into a double play. Ball 1 outside.
Lowe needs a confidence builder here. He sat in that dugout for a long time after that second loss in Baltimore.
He has established himself as one of the premier closers in the league. He wasn't in a save situation in either one of those first 2 outings. And in the tie games, trying to preserve the tie and extend the game into the next inning, give the Red Sox another at bat.
42 saves a year ago for Lowe.
Grieve sends it out of play. Just look back at Monday when Anderson singled to center to knock in the winning run. And then it was the bases loaded walk to Melvin Moore that forced in the winning run with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth in the game on Thursday. Those are the 2 Red Sox losses. Both belong to Derek Lowe. Looks like he got away with a little bit of a hanger there. 2-2 the count on Grieve. Strike 3. Grieve strikes out for the 3rd time. That's 17 strikeouts today for Martinez and Lowe combined. 16 for Pedro, and Derek has his first.
Every time Grieve has struck out today, it's been on an off-speed pitch. A changeup and a curveball from Pedro, and now the curveball from Derek Lowe.
So the Devil Rays are down to their final out. They're trying to avoid being shut out for the 2nd time this year. Here's Vinny Castilla. Bending out of the way of ball 1 up and in. Castilla has walked, grounded to short, and struck out. Don't forget, right after the game, the Virginia 500 from Martinsville Speedway. NASCAR racing action on Fox right after the game. 1-1 now. To short, that should end it. Gray back to Offerman, and the Red Sox sweep the Devil Rays. Derek Lowe saves it for Pedro Martinez. And Jimmy Williams and the Red Sox are 4-2 through 6 games this season. Final score: the Red Sox 3, the Devil Rays nothing. Will the totals and more from Fenway right after this. Totals for Boston: 3 runs, 7 hits, no errors, and 9 left. Tampa Bay: no runs, 4 hits, no errors, and 6 left. Pedro wins it, 8 innings with 16 strikeouts and just 3 hits allowed. His first decision of the year. Albie Lopez, the loser, 1-1, and Derek Lowe saved it, his first. 2 hours and 36 minutes before the sellout. 31,373. Manny Ramirez, 2 more runs batted in today. Once again, the final score: the Red Sox 3 and the Devil Rays nothing. This is the Fox 25 Red Sox television network. We hope you'll join us again Friday night as the Red Sox welcome the defending world champion New York Yankees. First meeting of the season between these 2 great rivals. Friday night, 6 o'clock, right here from Fenway Park on Fox 25. Stay tuned next for the Virginia 500 from Martinsville, next on Fox 25. Now for Jerry Remy and our entire crew, Sean McDonough saying so long. This has been a presentation of Fox 25 Sports.